Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cozy Corner Chronicles. I'm Julia,
And I'm Liz.
and we are back with another chapter chat for Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. Woo woo.
Yay.
So I know it's been a bit of time, but honestly, our schedules are a little way too. We keep saying that every episode, but like truly, our schedules are very, very hectic. So it's been
Yeah.
kind of hard.
It's chaotic because also you start work early and get off early. But by the
Yeah.
time I get off, also I work with now I have 21 kids, 21 4-year-olds. Some of them are still 3. And so after I get home
Nope.
from work, I either have to do schoolwork or I die. So I mean, there's really no in-betweens.
Yeah, and not only that, we also have a 1 hour time difference. So I'm 1 hour ahead in
Yeah.
Ohio. And on top of that, too, with other jobs, and yeah, here we are, guys, just
Bear with
struggling.
us. We're
Bear
still
with
here.
us. Yeah, but we're alive. Like, you
Yes.
see me on the TikTok, so
Mhm. And please, if you have not yet, check out our TikTok. Julia has been working so hard on running our TikTok account because, I've been on my social media cleanse and she has literally been holding down
beautiful.
the fort, like 10 toes down, holding down the TikTok. So
Not
please
the
go check
10
it
toes, the 10 toes, like gripping.
Perfect gripping.
But yeah, all for my 200 views. But you know what? That's 200 views.
That's 200 people that we don't know that are watching. And plus,
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's harder to. Okay, first of all, people who become TikTok famous, please share your tips because I'm confused at how you can go viral overnight and then all of a sudden become a brand. Like, please.
That's what I'm
share.
saying. Like, I think I'm freaking funny. I think we're interesting. Like, how I don't understand. It's fine. It's fine. Anyways, so with that being said,
Yes.
honestly, Happiness Falls might be kind of in the back burner of our mind for this episode because I know we had read this section like a while ago. So bear with us if we're like recalling things as we
Yes,
are
yes,
like summarizing everything for you guys.
yes. Because full transparency, I already finished the book months ago. And so I'm doing these chapter tests and trying to remember like all these little details. And I don't know if you finished the book, Julia, or if you're reading it as we go.
I'm like 60% of the way through. I stopped for a little bit because I was like, wait, let me not get ahead and then be confused.
Yeah, and so now sometimes when you like bring up events, I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen.
So now we're both at that point where we're like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
So here we go. So just to kick it off, we are still in part 2. Remember that this book is divided into multiple parts.
Mhm.
And part 2 was focusing on the happiness quotient, which is this whole thing with her dad and blah, blah, blah. So starting off with chapter 11, that was called That Summer. Though told to expect it, the family is actually surprised when a child protective services specialist comes to interview Eugene. Hannah refuses for Eugene to be interviewed alone, but sends John and Mia away anyway. They eavesdrop through like a nanny cam that's installed to kind of survey Eugene's therapist in case of any abuse whenever Eugene was working with multiple types of therapists. So Hannah, John, and Mia are upset when the CPS specialist announces that she focuses on text-based communication because that was something that Eugene, I think, really hated. Like he just would get frustrated or something like that.
I think it
So,
was also not that he hated it, but I believe they experienced something where it was like hand over hand
oh
and
yeah,
they were like doing it for him and like
you're
coming up with
right.
these ideas for him, I think.
I think you're right.
There's
Almost like a
also a
Ouija board.
movie about that.
Wait, like about this book?
Not about this book, but
Oh,
about somebody who does that, like a therapist who was doing like hand over hand with someone who was disabled and then somehow made the student, or I guess in this case the victim, say that he was like in love with her and like made him engage in like sexual relations with her, all this stuff. It was terrible. Anyways,
I have never heard of that. I'm gonna have to look into that because that's messed up.
yeah,
Why are people like that?
we're
Okay,
weird. People
well,
are weird.
people are truly weird. So this I don't think this wasn't the case in terms of like the sexual abuse, guys, so don't get that wrong.
Yes, yes, yes.
But it's still, yeah, I remember it was like the hand in hand thing that, yeah, I do remember that. So Mia recalls their family's experience of physically assisted writing, which is what you were basically talking about, where, like, the therapist maneuvers a patient's hands on the keyboard or the writing device, for like anyone who's nonverbal, which in Eugene's case, he's nonverbal. So Hannah found a facilitated communication therapist to help Eugene. Initially skeptical, Hannah was eventually really, really happy because she thought like they were making progress. However, Adam then tested the therapist using questions Eugene would know, but she wouldn't and disapproved the method, basically devastating Hannah. So I remember this scene specifically where like Adam one day just sprung it on the family during one of their sessions and was asking Eugene's like questions that he should know the answer to, stuff like, what color was the ball we were playing with today?
Right.
And then the therapist was like, well, you can't do that. Like those type of direct questions make it really frustrating because if he gets it wrong, he's gonna be upset, blah 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 blah. And then Adam was like, "You fake."
Right,
And
exactly.
yep, and Hannah got really mad, and everybody was mad at the dad. But I was like, I mean, y'all saving money by not like having an unethical therapist, because I mean, we want Eugene to be happy, we want him to be able to communicate, and so yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then we go into chapter 12. Also, the names of these chapters are a little, I don't know. I didn't really understand them, and some of them
Yeah,
are like, well, what does that even mean? Anyways, it's called post hoc ergo propter hoc. No idea what that means.
me either.
So, and also maybe we need to do a little bit more research on the titles of the chapters because maybe it means something. But anyways,
I'm wondering if it has to do with the happiness, like maybe these are math terms because we don't, I don't
maybe.
know.
So Mia was really scared that her parents would end up divorcing after the incident with the assisted writing stuff. So instead, this is where Hannah decided that she was going to go back to work and Adam had to become a stay-at-home dad. And really the only reason is because of Eugene, to take care of Eugene, to hold down the house. So that was their agreement instead of like, divorcing. So then we return back to the present where the CPS specialist basically shows a letterboard. And despite Hannah saying like, hey, Eugene doesn't use these letterboards, the specialist and Detective Janice were the ones who then said that that specific letterboard was actually found in Adam's backpack. So the specialist gives the letterboard to Eugene, and then Hannah's like literally like freaks out and snatches it. And so he ends up taking a pen and trying to like stab it in his mom's face. And so I don't think at this moment anyone realized what he really was intentionally trying to do. But basically he was trying to spell out a word because that's what he was used to, was taking the pen and stabbing certain letters to spell out words, whereas Detective Janice took it as he was attacking his mom. So Detective Janice ends up grabbing Eugene and he ends up scratching her and then puts Eugene in handcuffs. This
Which
one,
I
yeah.
know it's like, is that ethical?
Okay, I feel like in certain situations, people, yes, do need to be detained,
Yes, I
right?
agree.
But in special circumstances where you're working with people who are disabled or who have, certain triggers and things like that, I feel like people need to be more mindful. And now this is something that I really did think about while I read the book. When people go into training, even in the medical field,
Mm-hmm.
in the police field and all that, they don't get specific trainings for people with special needs
Yeah.
or even how to be moral, how to be ethic. I mean, yes, in medical school, da 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 da, you get a course over morals and ethics, right? But I mean, how many doctors do you know that actually practice morally and ethically? I mean, most of them will, yes, of course. But then you have those outliers that don't. And I feel like in this case, if you don't know the situation, like she's not reading the room at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a hard topic to bring up. And like, even I feel like, especially with police, everything is like a perception. Like she in this moment perceived that Eugene was attacking his mom.
Right.
Whereas nobody else was like, "Oh my god, like he's gonna stab her." Like again, read the room. If no one is immediately threatened by what Eugene is doing, like, you should not be threatened. But again, I get it. Like, let's play devil's advocate. She is a
Right.
cop, so it's like, oh my god, like anything can be perceived as attacking because like any sudden movements, you know? I don't
Yeah.
know. That part kind of like triggered me a little bit.
I know, I guess like my thought was that my first instinct wouldn't have been to like immediately put Eugene in handcuffs, because as like a special needs person, I'm sure if you were to suddenly be literally bound by metal cuffs, you would start freaking out even more,
Yeah,
you
I would
know?
freak out. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's
That's her, I guess. I'm a little confused about that, but
yeah.
anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I was also confused. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, so obviously everyone's not happy with this. And then Janice prepares to basically take Eugene to headquarters. So basically questioning him. So then chapter 13 is what we talk about when we talk about dad. So Hannah ends up sending John and Mia to Henry's house, Eugene's therapy center, to find lawyer Shannon Hogg. There they meet two sympathetic women nicknamed the groupie moms, or the GMs, who are admirers of Adam. The women are friends with Susan, the woman from the park that morning. So Mia tries to glean information about like the horrible news. I remember this because it was like, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry this happened." And they're like, "Yeah, like me
Yeah, we
too.
can't
I'm
believe
so,"
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to, get the information. I was like, that's something that we would totally do too. So then basically they find out that the groupie moms are actually referring to a second opinion in family history, reminding Mia that Adam's father died at the age, sorry, Adam's father died of stage 4 prostate cancer in his 50s. So then Mia and them are like, oh, are they talking about like prostate cancer? So that was like a whole shock.
Yeah.
And so as Shannon makes her way to the police station, John's friend Kenny texts him a screenshot of their dad looking terrified and in pain with another figure in the corner of the image. So we're starting to get like bits and pieces. Everything is really ominous, which I think makes for a good murder mystery book.
And then
But it's like,
I thought it was so stupid because at this point, everybody knows that Adam is missing, right? And then out of nowhere, literally days later, or just a couple days later, Kenny texts him with a picture. Like, you knew, you
like
had
read
that,
through.
literally, you had that picture. But anyways,
I know. I feel like that's what happens in a lot of murder mystery cases and things like this, is that nobody thinks about, hey, this could be useful. Like if you have any information, bring it forward. You never know what could be like useful and what could not be.
right. And so we go into chapter 14 called Pretty Fucking Far From Okay. So John calls Kenny and he's like, yo, like, what the fuck is up with this picture? Like, where did you get this from? Like, what, just trying to get all the details about it. And so they find out that the screenshot came from a video that was taken by a neighbor who was very known for having this mommy blog that parent shamed people. And so, lols, that's hilarious in itself because why would you even do that?
Literally.
Anyways, the neighbor ended up filming Adam, hoping to basically post this video to critique Adam's parenting. Again, very rude. And so, at the same time ish, Mia also gets more pages from Adam's notebook, which includes different case studies about happiness levels. And so she wonders if this obsession with happiness may have been a result from the lack of connecting with, just like basically not being not happy at home and trying to find happiness in his kids, but also understanding how to measure happiness in terms of only his kids, which, whatever. But basically, she was trying to connect the dots, and then she was like, was my dad depressed? Like, was he going through something that we just didn't know, and he was trying to find all this happiness and find the happiness quotient, do this, do that, and it was like right under our noses that we didn't see that he was really sad. And so they then arrive with a lawyer at the police station and prepare for Eugene's intake hearing.
Yes, and before we get to the last part and last chapter in part 2, I did want to mention, like, so back in a couple chapters before we found out about maybe his like second opinion with prostate cancer, when he took out the money, like my thought was, yeah, what if he was taking out the money to pay for a second opinion, and the doctor texting him was like, if you don't, like, I want you to tell them because I don't want that, like, it seems suspicious. But what if it was just that the doctor wanted him to tell his family about stage 4 prostate cancer because he wouldn't have long to live if that was the case, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
I was still on
anyways.
me. He was running away with a woman theory.
Yeah. Me, I'm just trying to be like devil's advocate in the story. I'm like,
You're
nah,
trying
Adam
to get
couldn't
an
be
Adam, but
crazy.
really, he's just a fuck boy.
Yeah, watch him be just a fuckboy. But anyway, so chapter 15 is A Maze of Beige. So while walking outside during the hearing, Mia receives another page from the happiness quotient notebook. Desperate to know whether she's right about the Q standing for quotient, she sets off for the evidence room. Reading selections from the notebook in person, Mia finds that she was correct. Adam wrote about the importance of baseline and expectations in relation to happiness. He was interested in practical applications such as, is it possible to manipulate happiness levels to change you or your family's mindset to maximize happiness and minimize sadness? Like, this is way too scientific for me, but
Yeah.
great thought. So the notebook also reveals those records of experiments, including like case studies of interactions with John, Mia, and the last experiment date was listed for the day of Adam's disappearance. So at this point, you're like, did he disappear literally for shits and giggles to test their happiness quotient without
That's
him?
what I was thinking. Like, are you fucking with your family so that you can see if they're sad over you, or how happy would they be if you returned? That's what I
Right.
thought the whole time too. Like, you are fucking with them.
Yeah, and then I was like, what if they set up all this stuff, right? Like, I mean, if Adam is a stay-at-home dad, he can do what I do and binge 12 seasons of Criminal Minds in like 3 days. So obviously not possible, guys. But like, and he could set it up. He could take out money. He could know like how to manipulate the system to make it look suspicious, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So like we said, everyone's sus.
So sus. And I
So
think I'm now at this point have deterred away from the kids,
yeah.
but I don't know who else would be sus other than Angeli and Adam.
Right, or it could just be a collective effort. I don't know. I think at this point, I'm just overall confused, which we've been saying since the beginning. But hey, Angie's doing her job. Miss
She
Kim,
is
Mrs.
doing
Kim,
her job. She
they're
is
doing her
doing her
thing. So,
So
with that being said, I just feel like there's multiple things going on. Like, we're obviously getting flashbacks and then we're getting present day, but we're also having the underlying thing of like they're retrieving notebook pages and we're finding bits and pieces, and Eugene seems to be kind of progressing forward even though he has, you know, a special disability and all that stuff. So I mean, it's interesting. What do you guys think?
yeah, please share your thoughts, because at this point, again, I feel very, I'm not going to say it's a bad book. It's not. I
Yeah,
just am confused where the storyline is going. Let's say that.
I agree. Like, and I guess I know you've already read it, but I'm like, I guess I just can't predict what the ending is
Yes.
going to be because it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because it's not like a romance where there's only two endings, right? You're happy or
Or
you're
you,
not happy.
yeah.
So here it's like, are we going to find Adam? Or are we not going to find Adam? Are we not going to
Right.
find Adam? And then it's going to be, so whatever. So with that being said, stay tuned for our next chapter chat where we will read the next 5 chapters. And also stay tuned for Arcane's Jawbone, all that stuff, because we will finally officially be diving into it. So join us for that adventure. Alrighty, bye y'all.
Bye.